resolving conflicts in relationships. That's our topic this evening. We want to draw certain insights from the Upanishads or from that body of wisdom called the Vedanta to throw light on conflicts in relationships. At the outset, let me tell you, these insights from the Upanishads are bound to appear to some of you either too abstract or utterly impractical, which means some of you may say, this is not our cup of tea at least. Some of you may say, this won't work in a city like Bombay. It may work on the slopes of Himalayas, in some caves, in the forest, and so on and so forth. I do understand how this mystical wisdom of the Upanishads may generate such responses. These views may look a bit extreme. However, I must share with you something. Other day in a house in Bangalore, I saw on the wall a big portrait of a modern times guru who is quite popular and making news a lot, Sadguru Vasudev. There was a big portrait of his sporting an extraordinary glamorous dress with a special headgear, and as though that dress was not enough, in that picture he is seen swirling around like those dancers of Sufi tradition. They call them dervishes, whirling dervishes, and he is enjoying. As though that is not enough, there was even a saying, live fully, live actively, live with balance, which is all okay. But the last line was a bit unexpected. Be a little extreme. Be a little extreme. I said, oh, this guru is asking everybody to be a bit extreme. My mind went straight away to that very successful businessman in the Silicon Valley in the 80s, Andy Grove. Andy Grove was a Jewish survivor of the Holocaust and had migrated to United States with, I believe, some $8 in his pocket. But then, rest is history, he was practically like a founder, almost like a founder of Intel Corporation, and he took Intel Corporation to those great heights. Intel, the producer of those silicon chips, at one time had 83% of market share in the whole world. That's another story. Once when he was in Singapore or somewhere, in a meeting, he asked those people representing Intel in the Far East, what is our market share? They said, we are happy to tell you, in this part of the world, 83% of the whatever microprocessor and other chips being sold are from Intel. Rather than being happy, he frowned and yelled at them. How did you lose that other 17%? But the main statement that came to my mind that day, when I saw the statement of Jaggi Vasudev be a little extreme, was another notorious statement of Andy Grove, who had said, only paranoids succeed. Only paranoids succeed. Normal people do not succeed. And I personally had fretted and fumed against that statement in the good old days. Later on it sank in me. There is a grain of truth in that too. So whether you call it paranoidal or a bit extreme or any other word, what is meant is a certain extra passion. You may be intelligent, you may be scholarly, you may be talented, you may be having very many gifts, but if that little bit of a bit extreme isn't in you, you just fall short of those sublime heights. So Vedanta already is a bit extreme, let me tell you. And to enter the topic, to plunge into the topic now, we talk about conflicts in relationships. By relationships we mean person to person. And the Vedanta asks you a question. The Vedanta as though leans towards you and asks, are you a person in the first place? That is a bit extreme, I tell you. Are you a person? And you say, what are you asking? I believe in Latin there is a word persona, which means a mask. So the person that you and I take ourselves to be is just a mask. Vedanta helps us to unmask ourselves. So are you a person at all? Now, Swami Chinmayanandaji used to call Vedanta the subjective science. What he meant was, it is not so much about understanding objects outside, it is all about coming upon a new understanding of ourselves. We are the subject in every experience. We are always at the receiving end, so to say. We are the subject. When we do, when we take, when we enjoy, when we suffer, that center in us which suffers or enjoys is marked as I. And Vedanta, which is the name we give to the Upanishads only, shakes the very foundation of our ordinary conditioned thinking. For this ordinary thinking is built upon a presumption that we are this, we are that. Sri Ramana Maharshi, who for all practical purposes was an excellent representative of the Upanishads in the last century, in one of his verses, there is a great classic, 40 verses on reality. And of those 40 verses, one of the verses goes to say, when there is this thought conceived I, all problems seem to be real. When this thought conceived I subsides, no problem remains at all. Therefore, hunting the I is the way to all-round victory. I took liberty to add the adjective thought conceived I. That is implied over there, though in the shloka proper, the word thought conceived may not be explicit. Ramana just uses the word aham. When there is aham, all our problems look so real. When there is no aham, all our problems collapse like a house of cards. Therefore, the best solution is to question this I. Bhave ahamaha sarvamidam vibhati, laye ahamaha naiva kinchid vibhati, tasmad aham rupamidam samastam, tan marganam sarvajayaya margaha is the shloka. He uses the word aham. I, on the basis of the related literature, took liberty to translate aham, which otherwise means I translated it as thought conceived I, memory conceived I. You exist, I exist, she exists, he exists. But time and again, thoughts play a game. Thoughts rush in, and in her and you, him and her, and in me, without notice to us, before we realize what is happening, thoughts, our memories, create an I. I can speak without an I, which is difficult, once in a while may be possible, but typically, even as I speak, thoughts conjure up an I. Okay, I think I'm speaking well today, or some other time. Oh my, I don't know whether the audience is bored or not, but I am wondering when the time will be up and I can just go. So either way, thoughts put a label on you, every one of us. And that is what we mean by thought conceived I. In the light of memories of events that happened a minute ago, or of events that happened 20 years ago, an image of ours rises in us. And typically you and I operate as that image. And the Upanishads say, the truth of yours is behind that image, which is put together by thought. Great, wonderful communicators like that lady from your own Maharashtra, Vimala Takar, coined an expression, image-free consciousness. They coined an expression. Upanishads, Gita, and many other streams of wisdom around the world have talked about it. Image-free consciousness. You are conscious, you are seeing what is around, but you do not carry an image of yourself, either as accomplished or as a failure, either as somebody doing well or as somebody in troubled waters. No image. So when we talk about resolving conflicts, the Vedanta's a bit extreme solution apparently is find out who has conflict. And if we say, well, I have conflict, could you please re-examine that I? In simple language, conflicts gather strength only from self-centeredness. In the absence of self-centeredness, conflicts lose their steam, or the wind that is pushing the sail of the boat suddenly disappears. The sail of the boat has no wind, either pushing it in favorable direction or unfavorable direction. The boat with the sail tied up, when there is no wind blowing, slows down, almost becomes stationary. In you and me, the wind that is blowing and making the eye happy at times, sad at other times, that wind is no other than self-centeredness. Let us admit, at a given point of time, all of us, including the speaker, is self-centered in her own or his own way. But then, is this self-centeredness, is this extra concern about me, my future, my past, my image in the surroundings, where I will reach, what will happen to me, a whole collection of thoughts. Is this indispensable, or can we live without this cluster of thoughts, which are technically defined as I thought? I-thought. It's a compound, like soap box. If I ask my son, get me a soap box, he's not going to get a soap and then a box. He knows that soap box is one thing in which a soap is kept. Soap box is a compound. Like that, I thought, please know, it is a compound. I-thought. And what it means is a thought in us that describes who we are, especially with certain evaluation. It's a judgmental thought. It is a thought that places us either above others and makes us feel, I think I am okay, or places us below or behind others and makes us feel low, bit hurt, or even insecure. The play of thoughts is undeniably true. What the Upanishads point to, that image-free consciousness, I agree, is to some extent subject of faith. It's a matter of faith. Is there a dimension of existence in us which is not conditioned by memory, not conditioned by thought? Conditioned meaning bounded. Bounding means putting a boundary. Bound and bounded, you may use both the words. But here I prefer the word bounded because it puts a limitation. And when there is a limitation, it is pretty much bound also. Bound, as you know, is the past participle of the root bind, and bounded is the past passive participle of bound. Bound itself is a root. Like fall becomes fallen, but fell is another root. The tree was felled. Fell, felled. Fall, fell, fallen. It's like that. Bind, bound, bound, and bound, bounded, bounded. Don't tell me I am hitting boundaries. That's another. So we are bounded by thought. Thought creates a boundary. So whether there is existence without these boundaries could be a matter of faith, but how thoughts bind us, how thoughts bound us is a fact. Anyone can notice it right away. When there are certain memories, we shrink. When there are certain other memories, we swell. We get elated or depressed by thoughts. That is what we are calling being bounded and then being bound. So, we have personal conflicts between two persons or between us, one or our family, a few persons, and a whole community could be a large number of persons. But who is this person? When you think about this resolving conflicts, you wonder, what has spirituality got to offer in resolving conflicts? Spirituality is when you withdraw from everything, sell away your house, move away from living in community, go to the forests, etc. That's how many people imagine. In fact, a lot of people who don't attend any spiritual programs do so because they think that spirituality is just, there's a word, wool gathering. It has no practical significance. But one day, when they get to see, they see. They see when they see. And that transition is unpredictable. For some, that transition from not seeing any worth in spirituality to seeing how spirituality is most important in life, that transition may happen to some at the age of 80 or 90, to some others even at the age of 10 or 12. This human brain is amazing. There are some in the field of computer science, for example, who have even gone to esteemed and reputed universities and colleges and really worked hard, and yet they find artificial intelligence, as an example, very difficult. And if you Google Tanmay Bakshi, Google the name Tanmay Bakshi, a 14-year-old boy of Indian origin but born and raised in USA. He already was making news last year, 2 years ago. He is such a amazing authority on artificial intelligence. Couple of days ago the news is Google has hired him and some huge salary he is drawing. 14-year-old boy, Tanmay Bakshi. And if you see his video in YouTube and other places, the way he answers questions of interviewers, journalists, reporters, TV anchors is like he is playing with artificial intelligence. They ask him, what do you do? Oh, little boy, almost jumping about. I love artificial intelligence. And what do you do? Do you go to school? My parents took me out of the school because the schools were not able to satisfy me or give me what I needed. So I am into homeschooling, and this was some time back. Now he is already working. And then they say, okay, then what are you busy with? I am all the time enjoying, studying, discovering new things about AI. And once in a while I go to conferences as a speaker. I write pieces to various journals. That little boy has so much of understanding of an otherwise advanced subject, AI, artificial intelligence. They have rightly predicted that within a year or two, we are all going to move from 4G to 5G. And 5G, that fast connectivity is only half the story. 5G on one hand and AI on the other, together is almost going to be our Frankenstein's monster. The monster is going to try to eat up the scientist Frankenstein who created the monster. Many people are dreading to think of that. You will lose your privacy. Everybody would know if they want where you have gone, what you have done. With AI, with 5G, I don't know what is going to come. Anyway, in like manner, today you may think that this is too abstract, but when it happens, it will just happen. And I want to give you the good news. Somebody here who may be thinking this is all Greek and Latin to me, I will never be able to follow this, etc., may realize it before all others. Please don't label yourself as I am not prepared, I am not poised, I am not fit. No. In fact, one of you who may think that you are not understanding this, by that thought probably is taking the whole thing, head on. And those of you here, in a manner of saying, who think, this I know very well, in fact I know all this very well, might go deaf. That's what one of the Upanishads says. Avidnatam vijanatam, vidnatam avijanatam. Those who think they know do not know, and those who do not know, know. Apparently self-contradictory statements. All right. Spiritual literature, especially as represented by the Upanishads, in a simple language, talk about an inner detachment as the panacea to conflicts in relationships. As long as you are obsessed, very attached, as long as you look at something as mine, this is mine, nobody should question this, you are going to find conflicts in relationships too hard. Inner detachment is not about running away. Inner detachment is seeing things objectively. It is important to realize that the very commonly found word in spiritual literature, detachment or asanga. Sanga is attachment, asanga is detachment. This commonly found word asanga, unfortunately, is much misunderstood. It is misunderstood to be running away, keeping away, staying totally aloof, to the extent not being bothered about others' sorrows or not being bothered about one's own true well-being, ruining one's own life also. And unfortunately, there are samples of people who neither help others nor take good care of themselves and then claim to be spiritual. And because there are such people everywhere, spirituality itself has got a bad name. Let us admit, truly spiritual people are indeed rare. 1 in 100 truly has the fragrance of detachment. All others have some kind of mix. A little of true detachment, like adulterated food, and a whole lot of indifference, carelessness, and unwillingness to get into things, and saving their own skin, and using spirituality to just run away from some unpleasant responsibility, and so on and so forth. Alas, we don't want to look down at them, we rather sympathize with them, for they know what it is to be in that unpleasant situation. It became so unpleasant, then a guru came to their town, they just followed him, without even knowing what the guru is teaching. That could happen. Because primarily they want to be out of that home, out of that some situation. This happens everywhere. Gurus many times are unable to manage. In every town there would be somebody or the other who wants to pack up and join their ashram. And after a little discussion, the gurus realize that if this lady, this man joins my ashram, whatever little peace is there in my ashram will also go. They know that this person requesting, please, I am surrendering to you. They will use all big words. But they know that this person hasn't understood the basics of spirituality. In fact, it is humorously said that those who truly have detachment don't have to join ashram. And those who don't have detachment, suppose they join ashram, will not be helped anyhow. In fact, the ashram will suffer because of them. And let me not go more into it. But asanga, true detachment, I repeat, is actually neither running away nor getting caught in problems, but the ability to see issues objectively. And objectively means putting aside that excessive concern about my loss and my gain, my victory and my defeat, or my social image getting better or getting tarnished, my image around I becoming popular or I losing friends. I believe today this social media called Facebook, I am also into Facebook, but so far I am not into that. I don't even see how many likes I got for a post. But I believe in younger generation, they are very particular, very keen. They are hung up on, I put a post, I uploaded, how many likes? How many likes do you have? So many people said to me, and I haven't begun. In fact, tomorrow when I open Facebook, I may be tempted to see how many likes for the picture I put. I have to practice self-control not to see that. I just put a song, a video, a picture or a message. I would like to not look at how many liked. Websites also have a counter. How many people visited your website? So that is called image consciousness. If you are unduly concerned, you may say to do any business you need to know whether there are customers or not. That is objective reality. But then, you know what it is in your heart. Am I concerned with reaching more people with a good product, or am I concerned with projecting a self-image? The dividing line many times is rather thin. It's not only Upanishads, but the popular works like Bhagavad Gita, about which we always say it is a representation of the Upanishad. Gita is Vedanta rephrased, served in a new combination. In the Gita too, relationships are guided. Valuable guidance is given to our relationships in life through, for example, that famous verse, be like a lotus leaf. Just as a lotus leaf does not get wet, even if water falls upon it, though it is surrounded by water, just as the lotus leaf remains dry A person, to literally translate the 10th verse of the 5th chapter, a person who has surrendered to the Supreme Truth, Brahman, does not get tainted, does not get bound. Brahmani adhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yaha lipyate nasa papena padmapatram iva ambasa. Padmapatram is the lotus leaf. Sri Krishna, with certain poetic skills, bringing a metaphor, puts it like that. If you have, even as you are buying and selling, even as you are winning or losing, even as you are in the transactional world, in the field of relationships, not away in some Himalayan cave, amidst all that, suppose in heart of hearts, you have a sense of I belong to that supreme truth, Brahman, then you will not be bound. Like the lotus leaf doesn't get wet. I may use this example itself to show you that it is a rephrasing with a sprinkling of some metaphor of an Upanishad line. In the second mantra of Ishavasya Upanishad, it is said, Kurvanneveha karmani jijivishet shatam samaha evam tvai nanyate tosti na karma lipyate nare. Na karma lipyate. And the same na lipyate means gets affected, gets bound. In fact, in Ayurveda, if you have a medicine that is to be applied to an affected part, that ointment in Ayurveda is called lepa. Lepa means what you apply, a paste. So, relationships do not affect us, they don't touch us. Na lipyate, na karma lipyate nare is the line in Upanishad, and in the Gita, Padma patram ivambasa lipyate nasa papena. That way Gita becomes easier to understand. Apart from the metaphor, there is the word, you don't get affected by agitations. I take liberty here to translate papa, which is otherwise sin. I take liberty to translate papam as agitations. Because whenever there is something sinful about us, we are agitated. Whenever there is something meritorious about us, we help somebody in small or big way, we took care of ourselves, we did our duty, then there is actually a certain exhilaration, opposite of agitation. All of us want exhilaration. We want to feel good. I was going through a little of time management literature other day, and I was almost for the first time, I was taking note of a wonderful thing said by one of the authors. The time management is a way to discover new energy. I always looked at time management as, ways and means to manage your time well and finish everything in time, get good results, But this author, Brian Tracy, who wrote a very funny book called Eat That Frog. Don't ask Swami Chidananda, what is that book, Eat That Frog? So ask Swami Google Ananda. Eat That Frog. Google, Eat That Frog. Medak, how? That's a wonderful book on time management. And the author is Brian Tracy. And this same Brian Tracy wrote that line. Time management is a way to find new energy. And he is right. Because when you do something well in time, Not only that job is over, not only you feel happy, you find a rush of energy in you. If you have finished a piece of work and come out of your room, you will feel like hugging everybody. There is so much of energy. Whereas if you have left 20 things halfway, nothing is completed, and you come out of your room to meet some people, the first thought in you is, why did these people come at this time? So, to feel like hugging everybody and come on, let's dance, let's sing, can be the result of good time management. You finished, So he is right. I appreciated that remark on the part of Brian Tracy. And Gita is talking of that. Lipyate nasa papena. Because agitation of any kind is papam, sin. And feeling high, feeling good, feeling relieved, feeling a certain inner release is wonderful. So come to relationships. Let me hasten to add, neither Upanishads nor any spiritual wisdom under the sun can assure you solving conflicts in terms of external results. There is a conflict about, let us say, money. There is a conflict about land. There is a conflict about some copyright or some other right. There is a conflict over claiming who said it, who did it, some authorship and so on. There is a conflict over, a divorced couple have a conflict over custody, whether the child should spend 2 days with father and 5 days with mother, or so many things. There is a conflict over so many things. When our friendship goes through a low, then there is a conflict whether we must meet at all. Yes, I have a friend in Hyderabad, I go to Hyderabad on a visit. At one time, I always stayed with that friend. I am not talking of any real person, but constructing an example. But if the relationship goes through a conflict, I am in Hyderabad for a whole week, but I wonder whether I should inform him at all. I should let her know at all. And I am even afraid, suddenly passing by Charminar or by Jubilee Hills, what if he or she comes right in front? I start sweating. Suppose she comes in front, should I greet her or just put my head down and go? Therefore they have said, a whole lot of exhaustion, a whole lot of tiredness, a whole lot of getting weak happens because of thought movement. We have a separate topic, I guess, tomorrow. How to free ourselves from the prison of thinking. Because a whole lot of our problems are not in objective realities, but thoughts. Like this example I constructed. I have a strained relationship with a gentleman or with a lady in Hyderabad. I am on a business trip there and thinking of the possibility that suddenly she and I, he and I may come face to face somewhere, I start sweating. This should help you see how, to a large extent, if not fully, thought is the problem. Thought is the culprit. And if you permit me, I will define Upanishadic wisdom as something that lifts you above thoughts. Thoughts create a scenario, and someone like Maharshi Ramana once more points out with tremendous insight that in that scenario that thought builds, what is most important, what is very significant is the picture of you that thought builds. Picture, the image, the idea of you. Like I visualize I take a break and go to see the ancient Charminar in Hyderabad, and to my bad luck, this lady with whom my relationship is very strained these days also takes a break from all her work and comes to Charminar. My mind is imagining. And then I realize that she comes straight in front and looks at me in a certain way. How come you are here? Then I visualize myself trembling. Then I visualize myself looking for an escape route. Thought creates myself in a certain fashion. So that is called I thought, I-thought. Now, Upanishads provide to us ways and means, tools and pointers to contemplate upon our own nature as free from thought. The Mundaka Upanishad mantra says the truth of our existence is Divyo hi amurtaha. It is divine, or another meaning of Divya is it is of the nature of light. Once, I guess in Bangalore, Swami Chidananda had to explain the word Divya. It came in some book. And you know how he used to take liberty and he used to go tangentially sometimes without doing injustice to the true meaning. Suddenly he said, what is Divya? Or I think the word was Deva. They are all one. Deva. Devaha. The word Deva came. He said, here in this large field, Maidan, like in Bombay he used to talk in Azad Maidan, Cross Maidan, etc. those days. In Bangalore also some big Maidan, a large open field. And in the evening, there were at least 100 tube lights that were put by the organizers. He said, if you say, as this lecture is going on, 100 devas are watching us, you will not be wrong. So everybody looked around, where are the gods watching us? Then he said, I mean these tube lights. Devas are tube lights? We thought we human beings are sometimes tube lights, turning on very slowly. Devas are tube lights? Everybody wondered. Then he said the word Deva means something shining. Same Divya. Divya, Amurtaha, having no particular form, and Divya means consciousness of the nature of light. Light is an analogy. This light, which is, as you know, a form of electromagnetic energy, violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange and red, those are particular frequencies, as everybody knows, of EM waves. But that's an analogy. Pure consciousness is not some spectrum of EM waves. Pure consciousness is the principle of knowing. And inasmuch as light also helps us know an object, and to a far greater extent, on a totally different level altogether, the principle of consciousness makes us know things. Therefore, Divya and Amurta, having no particular form, in our conditioned living, in our programmed living, in our way of living, where habits of thought in numerous ways constrain us, we are all the time looking at ourselves in a particular form, geometric form and other forms. What is a form? Wherever there is a boundary, that is a form. Suppose I say I am Deputy General Manager and I am waiting for this General Manager to retire, then I am likely to become the General Manager. He is GM, I am DGM. I want to be GM, something like that. So to describe myself as DGM and aspiring to become the GM, that description, that's a boundary. It need not be color or geometric form. But geometric form also, I stand before before a mirror and I don't know how to lose some pounds or how to gain some pounds. I wish I was 2 inches taller. In this way, when you look at yourself as that physical form, that is also a murta. Murta means form. In all possible ways, negate thought created form. Be. Just be. Don't be short or tall. The body is short, the body is tall, let it be. But you, the Upanishads would say, are without either being short or being tall. Short and tall do not apply to us, they apply to the body. So this is what I call, by way of example, a body of material to contemplate on. And how many of us do it? If you say, I have been hearing Upanishads for many years, but nothing has happened, I tell you, you haven't contemplated on the essential pointers of the Upanishads. You have just, whenever you heard Upanishads or took part in a discussion group, you just double checked what was said with what you had heard. हाँ ये हमने सुना था और कुछ नया है आज, and then brushed it aside. You did not really go with it. Yeah, even as a possibility. Is it possible that I essentially have no form, I am pure consciousness, divyo hyamurta purushaha sabhahyabhyantara yajaha, unborn. The truth of you is outside and inside. And I want to come to the third line. Apranaha hi amanaha. The word amanaha, I referred to it on another day also, is Upanishad's direct way of saying that you are free of the mind. The mind is an appearance on you. The mind is something that appears and disappears. But you took it so seriously, you think you are the mind. This is how Upanishad shakes you up. Aprano hi amana shubraha aksharat parataparaha. That's a mantra from Mundaka. The Upanishads, if we reflect on them, give to us a new paradigm of looking at things. The 6th mantra once more of Ishavasya says, when you see all in yourself and you see yourself in all, then you will be totally free of fear. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmani eva pashyati sarva bhuteshu cha atmanam tataha na vijugupsate. Na vijugupsate can be translated as, you then don't fear, you don't feel any disgust, you don't want to run away from something, you don't take your hand to your head, why did I get into all this? See, that is jugupsa. Jugupsa or vijugupsa. Na vijugupsate. I was saying a while ago, no spiritual wisdom tells you that, look, contemplate on this and you will win the deal. It's not about winning or losing. In fact, there is a high likelihood when you operate through that exhilaration, through that cheerfulness. You operate through a conflict-free bosom. There is a high chance that you win the deal. But it's not about winning the deal. It is not about external victory, though there is a high chance, let me repeat. Because a cheerful person is likely to function better, perform better, and better performance generally leads to success. But sometimes the situations are such, various other factors are involved, and it is a writing on the wall that you are going to lose. But what Upanishads do to you is, in the so-called loss, in the so-called defeat, inwardly you are not a loser. The husband wanted 50-50, 3.5 days custody of the child with him. and wife should have 3.5 days custody. But the court in that particular case, for whatever factors, court has its own reasons, said that only once a week to the husband you may see the child for 4 hours. Closed. The judge took the hammer. That's how they do, I think. The verdict was given. But if this husband... Sorry?
They don't have to listen to what the judge said. They can do what they think.
They don't have to... they don't have to listen to the judge. Yeah. But in the case I constructed, suppose they are so much at loggerheads. Yeah. So you are perhaps visualizing a scene where both of them have worked on that conflict and both of them are mature. Then they don't have to go to court at all, really. But in this case, the example I created was where the wife, in this example, is hell-bent on having the child all to herself, and the court also sympathizes with her, and then the man gets only 4 hours a week or something. I am saying it's not about our desire being fulfilled. Our desire being fulfilled is what we call karma kand, upasana kand. Karma and upasana in the Vedas is about fulfilling desires. Jnana or Gyan Kand, which is Upanishads, is, whether you like it or not, it is about rising above desire.
There are something like if you are truly living in the present,
Correct.
you can't be in desire.
Exactly. So Upanishads are about living in the present. Her point is, if you are truly in the present moment, you cannot have desires. Well said. Living in the present is no other than being free of image. The image is of the past. An image is either literally of the past or outwardly of future, because we visualize what I will be. I visualize myself going to Jaipur and suddenly a rich man comes and takes me on an elephant to a palace. I visualize myself being received and taken after a red carpet welcome on an elephant to a palace. Future. But it is projection of the past. I have seen somebody going and envied her, and now I visualize myself. So either way, you are so right. An image is rooted in the past. In the present, there is no image. And to live totally in the present requires great intelligence, great attention, great awareness. I am saying all this because to live in the present is not a matter of just willing. It is not some veera sankalpa, as the word goes. It is not a matter of rolling up our sleeves. Okay, if that is what it is, Swamiji, for your sake, after this lecture I am going to live in the present. Neither you can resolve nor I can resolve, because living in the present happens when there is an understanding of the foolishness of sinking into the past or just building castles in the air in future or fearing some horrendous things in the future. You see the falsehood of it, you see the irrelevance of it, you see the lack of necessity. Sometimes it is necessary. Never mistake this topic of living in the present, never mistake it to mean we should never think of the future. No. Unless we think of the future where it is required, we won't be able to act in a functionally nice way. There are lots of areas where we need to plan. We need to think of the future not only for our own sake, for the sake of our near and dear ones. We need to plan their future too. And same way with the past. We have to look back and where we went wrong or what we had learned what good we have picked up in a certain scenario, which we will again use now, right? If we have done something right, we better do it again like that. If we have done something wrong, we better avoid it this time. So either way, going to the past and going to future does have a place. But whenever spirituality talks about living in the present, the clear reference is to avoiding all those unnecessary movements into the past or into the future. So we don't know the result of a situation. By resolving conflict, we are not saying we will be winners. No, the outward result may be not favorable, but inwardly it is no more a conflict. You gracefully accept the way the situation went, the way maybe the lawsuit went, the way some particular friction finally ended up in, whatever. You accept gracefully, and because you have, in the light of the contemplation on Upanishads, you have dismissed this center called I, me and my, there is no pain, or there is a minimum pain. There is the least pain. As simple as if you and I have false prestige, we get hurt every time somebody doesn't recognize our position. In a certain town, there was a dance teacher, and she came to that town when hardly anybody was teaching dance. So because that particular timing, she was given so much of importance by all. A lot of parents wanted their children to learn dance, and she was the only dance teacher. And as a result, she became a socially important person. Wherever she went, people would welcome her because their children were studying dance under her, etc. And slowly many other dance teachers came to the town. And this lady got used to the special attention. Now that there are many dance teachers, also the girls and boys whom she taught have grown up, they are no more attending. Now slowly in get-togethers, she was not accorded that attention as before. But she would come, a close friend of mine said, this is a real case, she would come, look around and expect somebody to get up and make a seat for her, etc. But as time passed, the world had forgotten her. She would show a little bit of discomfort on her face and then look for herself, search for a seat and then sit. And sometimes she would not join the get-together, walk away. She would fret and fume. Unnecessary thought created, right? Now, who is that lady? In a sense, she is there in all of us. All of us get used to certain ways of being received and we want it again. All of us remember certain scenarios where we were ignored, neglected, and we shudder at that thought. We want to avoid those places. This is again the play of the image. Resolving conflict is arriving at a certain image-free consciousness where whichever way the situation proceeds, whichever way the situation gets going, thanks to the absence of any image that you are clinging to, you gracefully move through the time, through the times, through the scenarios. That is how in Kathopanishad, Yama, the Lord of Death, makes a very unusual statement. Answering Nachiketa's question on the truth that is beyond body and mind, the truth that survives even the mystic death of the ego, he says, yes, there does exist such a truth. And then he says, whoever comes to know this truth rises above both elation and depression. Matva dhiraha harsha shokau jahati. It's an intriguing statement. Normally you and I are concerned about ending our sorrow. I want to end my sufferings, end my sorrow, end my headache. A number of negative things we want to end. And if somebody hastily reads that line, one would say, I am not sure whether I want this Vedanta. Because this says, Harsha Shokau. Shoka is to be avoided, but Harsha also goes away. Or critics of Vedanta, critics of spirituality may say, this is why we don't join any spiritual program. Because it makes you bland. It makes you dull. That's a misunderstanding. Those who know the spiritual science, those who know it properly, know that Harsha doesn't mean over there happiness. It means the elation caused by an egoistic gratification. There is no more egoistic gratification in you and no more egoistic heartburn in you. Otherwise you have not only harsha, you have shoka also. You think enlightened people never feel unhappy? When they find somebody suffering, when they find things going wrong, they too feel very bad, very sad. In fact, they may scream also. They may get angry. But then what is their enlightenment? If they feel sad, if they feel angry, if they scream, if they yell, if they walk away, if they refuse to visit your place, your institution, your house, you may say, then what an illumined person she is. We say, hold on, don't judge hastily. When the enlightened people express anger or displeasure, invariably it is not about their egoistic issues. It is about the disorder that you have created. Suppose a very wise, very spiritual, mature, let me not mention any name, somebody, any of you, very mature you get spiritually. And somewhere you go for some work and 7 times over WhatsApp, over SMS, over phone call, it was decided that so and so will receive you and then take you to some place where there is some work to be done. And you land in Delhi, you come out, there is nobody to receive you. And you wonder what happened. Then you get a phone call and that person says, you know that if you go that corner, Uber you can collect. Then you try to take Uber or something, that you won't get immediately quickly. Then suppose after going to the place you express your displeasure. I would say here, it need not be egoistic at all. It is a displeasure that you have expressed about how in a shabby way things were done. It's not about you not being received. You are the best judge. If you are spiritually mature, you have the freedom. It depends on your personality type. And somebody else, by not expressing displeasure, just by that cannot be judged as mature. Maturity is nothing to do with how outwardly you express displeasure or do not. It is inwardly whether whatever you did, you kept quiet or you yelled, whether that was flowing from an ego hurt or an objective assessment of, this was not done properly.
You can get out of the situation very fast. You can.
Correct. That is another second sign of it. One is yes. One is you express, yeah, you are right. Another sign of absence of ego is, though this person expressed displeasure, screamed, I won't come to your functions anymore.
Huh? You can get out of the situation very fast.
If you do not get hurt.
You don't get hurt. It
Correct.
doesn't hurt you.
Exactly. The person is not hurt. The person calls a spade, and depending on way nature has made you and me, some of us have an angry nature. Upon gaining the spiritual wisdom, anger per se doesn't go. But the anger doesn't emanate, it doesn't issue forth from hurt ego. It emanates from an assessment of the situation. You are right. One sign of that is that further confirms the person who said to that other guy, we had discussed that you would receive, you had discussed that a vehicle would be waiting. Do you know how much time we wasted? I have other things also to do. And that way he expresses displeasure, she expresses anger. But next moment, because there is no hurt ego, it was very objective behavior. Next moment she is able to get going with other things. Whereas the person, you or me, in whom prestige is hurt, I am some anxiety, this way everywhere it happens, then my popularity will suffer. I will not be then famous as I want to be. So this care for fame and name and popularity and somebody to think of me as a very great guy, we are all into this impressing business. We want to impress somebody. In our spiritual immaturity, rather than doing a job well, we go about impressing somebody. Even as we are doing something, we see, is that person around who I want to, right? That modern generation's concern about how many likes I got, has a pointer to that. All right. So what we are saying this evening is, by giving some selections from the Upanishads, what we are saying is, it is a certain change in consciousness. I think we kept a booklet for you. Did you bring that? Please give her, because yesterday it was decided. No problem. So, I am almost winding up for you to ask some questions. In many self-development workshops or maybe workshops on negotiation skills, etc., the focus is on how we may do things, how we may say things, how we may conduct ourselves in order to get best results. It's about the bottom line. It's about, who is that? There is somebody, there are many. One big fellow, well-known fellow who conducts workshops on negotiation has that famous statement, in business you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. It's a much quoted sentence. And then he announces, my workshops on negotiation skills at all these 5-star hotels in so many places. And for you to really feel the joy of participation, the fees also is kept very high. So you feel the kick of it. I paid so much to attend it. So there the focus is on results. We too, in spiritual angle of view, we too focus on results, but the results are inner results. Inwardly, how I may stay afloat. And ordinary workshops talk about outwardly, how the business, the deal is in my favor. Right. Both have their places. I never look down at the outer, dimension. But on the whole, the inner dimension is more crucial. The inner dimension is about living a happy life. It is about safeguarding our overall health. If outwardly I make more money than anybody in the town, I get ranked in Forbes magazine or all those, there are so many individuals as well as institutions are ranked by various agencies. Outwardly, I am ranked as the biggest and the most successful person. But meanwhile, doctors say your BP is going very high, your glucose levels, be careful, and various other parameters. Your wife and children are at their wits' end now. Like these things happen. That would not happen in the spiritual inner accomplishment. Therefore, we call it a holistic approach. The holistic approach, maybe the money you earn may be a little less than otherwise, and name and fame, etc. Need not be, it can also be high, but it's not the main thing, it may be less. But as a whole, or on the whole, you can feel it. You can feel inwardly, you are in one piece. Otherwise, you're breaking into pieces. Let me pause here. Please ask any. Yeah, you start.